Welcome to another episode of Peers Over Beers, your favorite digital and social evangelist podcast, with your industry veteran hosts, Chris Detzel. This podcast starts now.
So welcome to another Peers Over Beers. My name is Chris Detzel, and longtime Scott Wilder is here. Scott, how are you?
I'm doing great. When you say long time, I'm assuming that's the duration of time that I've been drinking.
Well, I know you don't drink, or you haven't drank in a long time that I know of. So, but I do remember that you are drinking some water or something. So, I just got a new coffee machine that I'm super excited about. It does cappuccinos and frappuccinos, and it's crazy. You like coffee, right?
And you grind your own beans and all that?
Yeah, it grinds some beans. Yes, it's awesome. I mean, I just got it, so I'm just now learning. I drank way too much coffee today because of it. It's trying everything. I was like, "What's a cappuccino? How about the coffee? How about the macchiatos?"
I should send you. I might get my coffee from Puerto Rico because we have a Puerto Rican family. So I'll send some over to you for the holiday.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, we love coffee. So, well, hey, it's been actually a little bit of time since we've spoken. And as a matter of fact, I was telling you that I think we're going to take a break from Peers Over Beers until January sometime. So this will be the last Peers Over Beers that I have for the next month and a half or so. I just need to kind of rethink some things, and then I just need a break. I'm really busy. I got to go to a lot of conferences, stuff like that, the rest of this year for Reltio. So just going to take a little break, but appreciate you being kind of the last guest for this year.
No problem. Any good conferences that we should know about?
Well, I'm going to AWS, so we have a booth there, and we're going to have some dinners. Our CEO, Manish Sood, will be hosting some of these dinners and some talks and things like that. And then the Forrester one in Austin. So AWS is in Las Vegas, and then the Forrester Data Conference, I think is what it's called, or something, Insights and Strategy,
Yep.
is in Austin. So I'm going on vacation this week or next week for Thanksgiving. Then the next week is AWS in Vegas, and then the next week is the Forrester Conference. So it's just a lot.
And are you going to bring your coffee maker with you?
I wished. No. But, they'll have great coffee makers there, Starbucks, whatever, so I think I'll be good on the coffee. And plenty of good beer, I'm sure of that. I probably won't drink a lot, but I'll drink some, why not? How about you? Get any conferences coming up?
I don't actually. There's some stuff online. G2 has one I'll be listening to, but in terms of going to places, nope. This is going to be a quiet holiday. I'll be anchored here in the Bay Area.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to conferences that are for community, but so one of the topics that kind of came up today was this new kind of, you call it CLG campus, customer-led growth, learning together kind of resource page, I guess, and maybe that's the wrong way to say it, but you built this. It looks really cool. We'll put the link and stuff like that directly in the notes, but tell me more about what you're doing there.
Yeah, the CLG campus, so customer-led growth. Basically, this is for anybody in a customer-facing role. Majority of the audience will be customer marketers, but there's also, people in community roles, customer success roles, things like that. And for several years now, I've really wanted to build a place where, all boats can rise together and we can all, fine tune our craft together. So there's a lot of resources here. There's podcasts, there's customer-led groove. There's also templates and webinars and reports. There's also an academy that's practitioner-led. So probably 25% of the courses are from us. The rest are from practitioners, and a huge backlog of folks that want to create those courses and share them. Huh. And then there's also a community aspect, but I think it's a place to go to really learn and, fine tune your craft and help you with your career as well. Yeah, so this is sponsored by, by Base where I am now, but anybody that wants to help others can really contribute content, whether they're friend, foe, or family.
Yeah, and the site is DC or D. Sorry, I can't see. clgcampus.base.ai. Is that right?
Yep, correct.
Yeah. I used to wear contacts, and then I got LASIK, and now whenever I look at the screen, especially at the little URLs, I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't completely see. So that's cool. Yeah.
It's a really, yeah.
Good.
I was just going to say, it's funny, like here we are all, thinking about the user experience, but I think, the browsers of the world are still, they haven't really thought about the 20, 30, 40% of the population that wears some sort of eyewear.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, as I get older, man, it just gets harder. So on this campus, and you've got, like you said, Academy, and how does that work? So if I wanted to, so there's all these kind of areas I can click on, like an Academy, Resource Center, podcast, discussion forums, how you get started and all that stuff, customer marketing, webinars, events. So if I clicked into the podcast, so I can listen to podcasts, right? And then, but is that just something that, is just something for people to listen to or go to, or can they be part of doing the podcast? Sorry for not knowing.
Yeah. No problem. So I think there's kind of several parts of this. So the site is set up so, in the community world, we think about federated search. Everything is, tied together and tagged so you can search on, community, and you can see everything related to it, whether it's a course, whether it's an event or a job opportunity. So that's search. There's also the browse experience where, I call them learning paths. But the thing about learning paths here, like when I was at HubSpot, learning paths tend to be take course 1, course 2, course 3. But I've always wanted to be a VJ. So I think of myself as a mixer, a curator of different content under a topic. And so the learning paths are basically is curation of different topics. And then, so that's kind of like the different ways to define things. And then in terms of podcasts, yeah, I mean, if somebody's interested in being a guest on it, they should just contact me. But and I expect you on our show after you're back in action. And then, but the podcast, yeah, you can come to the site for the podcast. We're also on, the same as a lot of people, Apple, Spotify, etc. But we're also on, and I have to be careful how I say this because she's going to respond right away, is a Alexa.
Yeah.
So we're on Alexa and Google Home and things like that. So,
cool.
One of the strategies or approaches is like, this is a hub of resources, but we also, I think of these things just the same way a lot of community people do is.
There she is.
Alexa, be quiet, behave. She always like sneaks out there. But so we have like a place to go to for content, but we also think about pushing out content to other places. The podcast is a great example, but over time we will, I'll take it in the community metaphor, widgetize and have, content that's on different platforms around the internet.
Is it free to enroll into your courses?
It's free. Yeah.
Because there's one that I'm actually interested in is your customer advisory boards. I own ours and have for a couple of years now, but I'm sure there's a lot to learn from here. So this is cool.
Yeah, it's free, and like I said, this is there's just a lot of if you go on LinkedIn, everybody's more and more people are asking for help or wanting to learn and things like that, and so.
Do you also own Academy? I assume you own Academy too, right?
So there's an Academy on there.
But does your team own it? Does your team own it?
Yeah.
Okay. It's interesting.
Go ahead.
Sorry, no. I'll let you.
So our team owns the CARE initiative, which is community, advocacy, resources, and education.
It's a lot for it's rare for that I've heard of for a person that owns growth to own kind of the education, community, et cetera. So that's an interesting place you're in, right? Because you own growth, which I assume is also, the main website. Is that right? Or at least the digital piece?
There's the main website is managed by the marketing team,
Okay.
but very, very involved in growth and yeah.
Okay. Great. Um, this is cool. No, I'm just looking at it, and I like the academy mainly because it relates to me. But I like how you have one page full of everything you need from a community, or maybe it's customer-led growth standpoint, whether it's academy, community, podcast, etc. So I like that page, just because it lets you go anywhere you want. Now, how do you know if you're success? So this page is great, but what does success look like for you? I mean, you get all these things going on, job boards, podcasts, customer marketing, webinars. I mean, you're doing a lot of stuff, so.
Yeah. So I think it's at the end of the day, there's the qualitative and quantitative part of it. So, there's, this is a community of people that, I had my core four that helped work with me and design this. And so, it's getting feedback from the people who are using this. And anybody who knows me knows I'm kind of like that's, I'm just constantly asking, what can we do better? And then there's the quantitative part. Like, I think that, the Coursera's and Udacity's and a few other places, they only have like 30 to 40% that are completing a whole course. So for me here, I want to track, how people are doing, if they're getting what they need from it. And so there's a the quantitative side, but also the qualitative side. So.
Yeah. And so it's interesting that, so you have events, and when you look at your webinars, events, and things like that, like, how do you get people to attend? Do they just come to the site, or are you sending them invites, sending them emails? I mean,
so we're doing emails, where, compared to some of the, historically I've worked at larger companies. So, we don't have this, I'll call it the 100,000, 200,000 email list.
Yeah.
So we are emailing the folks that we, that are in our, system. We also are doing more kind of word of mouth campaigns. We're also highlighting on social media, like on LinkedIn. So every Friday I do a campus tour. You meet us at the virtual gate, and we get on the bus, and I'll show you around. So spreading word of mouth around that. But then the people who are leading these courses or doing these podcasts, they partnering with them and figuring out like how to reach their people, so to speak, as well. So it's play it forward is kind of the best way to say it. It's a play it forward strategy.
And are these all this? So you mentioned that it's free to get in. So I assume that you're allowing both customers and prospects. Doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
That use.
I didn't know anybody can sign up. There's no. I think we both have historically run into communities and things like that where, no competitors can be in there. Competitors can use this as well. In fact, I have reached out to some competitors about contributing content,
Did that work out?
Think about that. What? Yeah.
Did that work out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I think it's really the all boats rise approach, there's very little. You probably have to be clever to, other than the URL because of the domain, but you have to be pretty clever to find any like base branding there. So it's really about the campus itself. And this is
That's
like
true.
all campuses. It's a place to learn. It's a place to collaborate and interact with others. It's just in a virtual world. And when you interview me or we talk in 2025, maybe it'll be a metaverse.
Ooh, I like it. No, the page looks beautiful. I really like this page because it just puts everything in one place. Like you said, it's a campus to go to basically learn and get what you need quickly. I mean, it's just, I don't know why more people or companies don't do this. So what do you guys do for current customers? Is there like some special place that they can go to to, do
Yeah,
different things, or obviously the
it's a great
product,
question.
but
So, taking a page from our community playbooks, there's, courses and community areas just for customers. There's areas that are private and some areas that are hidden. We have the top 100 that we developed last year, and we're developing it again. There's a space for the top 100. Again, just taking a page from the community playbook, there's some stuff that's just for customers, some stuff that's just for partners, some content for the rest of the world. And when you think about customers, right, there's like onboarding content, right, for our customers that's in there, but it's only available for the people who are using our product.
So I want to back up, because you really haven't been at Base all that long, maybe a year now or so, or less. Is that right?
Less, yeah, since
Yeah.
March.
So to me, as I kind of think about all the work, I mean, I know you hired some people, did some things, but still, created this site. Now, is everything that's been created because of what you've done? I mean, now you've put some stuff together, so I don't know if there were some things there before you. Was there, or did you kind of start creating? Because I get a bigger question here in a minute, because I'm very interested. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but what's the bigger question?
So I didn't like that one. From a content standpoint, when I think, let's just say communities, for example, you've got stuff, there's an open community. I know you have a Slack group as well. So I don't know if you consider that as the community, but do you see that as the community or no? The Slack group, or it's partly, but
The Slack group is also kind of a co-op types of community. I mean, there's so it's a community as well. That the problem or the challenge with Slack is a few things. One is the findability issue.
Yeah, of course.
And some of these Slack channels have also, there's been a lot of I call it advertising, right? And so what we're trying to do here is, like, this isn't about promoting your product. This is about the how-tos and helping people. So so that's the Slack that community angle. But yeah, this is some of the content we're creating, some of the practitioners are creating, but this is about curating. This is about community engagement. I'm trying to think of another word that begins with a C. Curating, community collaboration.
Curating. So I'm on the forums, and I'm just thinking, you have different forums like customer marketing, customer-led growth, advocacy discussions, a bunch of them, and CAB discussion, which again, I'm going to be somewhat interested there. But there's a lot of content that's going to be created in these, as I kind of think about like the communities I've created now 2 communities. One is kind of this Q&A of these different, of our product, right? It's more of a support type community, but then another community around integration and stuff like that. That's again about a product, but it's only 2 communities. And as a team of 2 now, and for the longest time as one, I was like thinking, that's a lot of content. I'm not going to create, all this content for, each section, like match and merge or data governance, or, you know what I mean? Like, because I just don't have the time and effort, like you haven't been there, your company all that long, and you have all these forums and you have some events, and you have an academy, and you have some podcasts going on. And I mean, you have a lot of stuff, how do you do it? Is really the bigger question.
Yeah. Well, the community, the forums part, it's definitely early days, and it's going to take a while. I mean, it's 2 weeks, so it's going to take a while to really get a lot of activity and action there. I like to create and curate content. I mean, that's part of my natural DNA, and so and then there's people out there who've created a lot of great content. So reaching out to them as well and asking them, do you want to contribute to this endeavor? BT she's doing a course an awards that's coming up next week. She's talked a lot about awards she's also part of the Core Four, but put that aside. But, she's talked about, creating customer awards for a while. And she's, I really like what she has to say about it. So it's approaching her and saying, are you interested in a course? Can we partner in this? Do you have existing content? Yeah. So it's funny, like it is work, but it's such a big part of who I am that, like there's another example. There's a really good book called, you probably won't be able to see it because of my background, called Customer Equity.
The Age of Customer Equity. Sort of had it.
Yeah, by Allison. So Allison is somebody who, she's done a course on it, but I love the book, and, now using the book to come up with, some methodologies and models for customer engagement, right? For me, it's kind of like a second nature thing, I have to get my kids out to remind me to get offline once in a while, but other than that, so.
On your content strategy, when you think about SEO, organic SEO and things like that, now that takes a long time, but how important is that to you in the company?
It's very important to us. And I think it's important to us because, again, we don't have large budgets, and also, it's not the sales cycle is not like a lot of B2C in terms of, see it and buy it, right? It's a long sales cycle, which is another thing. When I was at Udacity and Coursera, really understanding the sales cycles there. And so, organic is important. Being transparent, it's a balancing act of bringing people to here versus bringing people to the base.ai site or the main site, right?
We struggle with that too.
Yeah, understand your content pillars and where you want to focus.
There's this for us, as we kind of look at, sending, where do we send our content? And when I kind of start talking to our marketing team, which I'm on the marketing team, but in the different areas, is, hey, Chris, you're creating content that we could use. Great. Like you can use it, just don't, copy and paste it, that kind of stuff. I had to figure out ways to, but when I look at what they're trying to create, obviously they're trying to create top of the funnel stuff. And really today, when you go to reltio.com, it's all about Reltio. Like there's no industry specific, not much, and I'm like, so you're just trying to get people to buy Reltio. And if I were you, I would start thinking about industry specific, kind of like, instead of Reltio master data management, maybe you can talk about some of these industry things like data governance, data quality, data modeling. I don't know, those kinds of higher level type things, even if Reltio is not focused in on all of them, data fabric, data mesh, etc. But they don't yet. And what I think about is, what they care about is master data management as, let's say, words. When you think of SEO, for me, although that's important, what I think about is kind of the technical type things like survivorship or match and merge, MDM, or those kinds of things, how to use this thing, or also how to. And so even the search words are completely different than what they would be on the main website, right? So you've got one end, when you think about kind of supposedly high level stuff, should be maybe on the main website. It's going to be seen as thought leaders, but also about Reltio and how to, that kind of stuff. For me, it's how to. Documentation and I have more of a, I would say, it's more of a bond, really, because we're doing some of the same stuff, although the documentation is really long docs and about the product. So they get a lot of the SEO, but the Q&A stuff is just as important. And I think tying that stuff into the docs portal, or even some of the docs stuff into community, would be extremely helpful, because we're always referencing documentation, or there's things that, in my mind, push a widget out onto the docs portal to say, here's the engagement, here's the stuff going on community today, on certain pages, right? If you think about it, like, if people are having problems with match and merge, hey, we're having discussions right over here. Here's a widget, boom. And I also think of the curation of content in a big way as well. How can we
Yeah.
create these product FAQs or specific FAQs and then push them more into the community? Here's everything about matching and merging. There's some blogs around it. There's Q&A around it. Here's some videos around it. Here's one page. And that one pager that you create, for me, like I did one on match and merge about a year ago. That is my number one page that people go to when they search, right? From a match
Yeah.
and merge. So curating that content, and I love what you're doing there, is highly important, and it's one of my favorite things to do. And as a matter of fact, I'm going through a whole, not revamp, but revamp of some of these pages so that I can automate the curation of content being pushed into community, so that maybe out with the old, in with the new. You can do different things from an automation standpoint, but that same URL stays. You know what I mean? Like, so you got to kind of be careful, because you want to make sure if people are actually listening to this video and it's been extremely helpful, in a year it doesn't go away. But still, that's what I'm working on today, is from a curation standpoint, pages that are automated, and I create many of these pages that get the user to the information they need quickly. But also, when you think of organic SEO, those pages that you can curate, man, they just grow like this way faster than just one, post. Well, if you're, a discussion post takes a long time, and it's just a little bit. But the more you have and the more relevant that content is, the better. Sorry, I got off on a thing, but you got me really excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, it's got to start with Chris, your CMO, right? Chris is your CMO. Is that?
CMO is David, and we now have a new CEO. Well, he's his founder and now CEO again, Manish. But yeah.
Okay. Well, it's got to start with David, that, moving beyond this transaction mindset to something more transformational, and moving from transaction to this ongoing relationship. And, right. And so that's kind of the first thing that, you can tell them, and, you might have this much influence, but your CMO will have a bit more.
That's right.
And then, to me, there's a higher calling than just selling your product, right? Like, and that's why my mantra is, for the individuals you're talking to, it's like how to help them improve their craft and how to help them accelerate their career. And some people might say I'm a broken record saying that, but I think that's kind of my guiding principles with all this stuff, right?
Learn, teach, learn.
Help them. Yeah, exactly. Learn, teach, learn, which we talked about. And so, and that's where you're going to be more successful, Intuit, which I talk a lot about, because it's a big part of, who I am and has influenced me, is that, they're not teaching you just how to do your taxes or how to, use QuickBooks. They're teaching you how to run a successful small business. And small business folks, I talked about, my DNA, small businesses, like, they live and breathe their business, right? It's like, it's not an 8 to 5 job. And so, some people focus a lot on the jobs that need to be done and the how-tos. And I think that's really important, and that will help certainly with SEO. But, what is the higher calling for the people, whether it's an individual or an account that you're trying to engage with? Going back to the Intuit example, jobs to be done was huge there, but we were challenged to go to people's offices and really understand what's there, like what's on their desk, what's making them tick. I don't know your business well enough to answer that question, but I think it's something, from our point of view, is just the whole career aspect and learning your craft is huge.
I can see that you care that much just from that page, just that one page and then again, I'll put that and it's a good point, because, I always try to relate it to what I'm thinking. And some of the things that I've been thinking about too is, like, if you look at our product, at Reltio, it's highly complex and, it's hard to use. So there's really great stuff that we can do from a Q&A or how to use and how to do those things. But it's a good point, because before you even buy our product, what does your master data management practice look like? Do you have a good governance program? Do you have, do you have maybe even a governance kind of board that you can think about? Because the data that they use comes from different parts of the business, right? Who owns the data? Do you have those definitions out? Do you even have a definition of, data management, and those things, so before you buy a product like Reltio and spend $1 million, it's like this, it solves a lot of problems, but you have a people problem first that you probably need to go resolve and think about and talk about before you use this, because today a large percentage of numbers of master data management implementations fail, right? And why? Well, it's not the product necessarily, right? It's every systems or every company is set up differently, and when you think of big companies do that, so how do you think about the practice of, you know what I mean? And what are the things you need to do before you even buy the tool? What should that look like, and that kind of stuff? So I think you're onto something, and those are some of the things that I want to dive into more, and I have a little, but not into the mouth that I would like.
I was talking to Donnie the other day, who's at
Mhm.
SAP, and I actually consulted to SAP in 2016, 2017. And the audience I was targeting was data scientists, data professionals. So maybe this will resonate a little bit. And, it was really interesting because there's kind of the more senior data person or more experienced who love sharing their experience and knowledge. And then there was the more junior person or somebody who was a data analyst who just was like trying to learn as much as possible and up their game. And, so a lot of our recommendations for that SAP community was understanding those two personas and what was in it for them, but also bringing them together. Right. And that was about the time when there was an explosion in a good explosion in like data science events and analytics events. And so,
I remember that.
It was a perfect moment or perfect, whatever they call it, perfect storm. Although storm sounds negative. So I think it's really like, there's another good book it's about something called, if you go to the CLG library, which I'm just building right now, it's actually in there. I've just started building it, but it's netnography, which is really trying to take an anthropological approach to community building. And what I mean by that is, if you go back to what I was saying about SAP, is those data scientists is really understanding, or those data people is understanding them more about what makes them tick and what's in it for them. Right. For me, I don't know how you sell a go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you mentioned something about, upping their jobs and things like that. But, when people use our product or buy our product, literally their jobs are on the line, right? If they're not implemented in a certain time, or if they're not using it, because it's actually, data stewards use our products on a daily basis, just in and out of it, and it does some really cool things. But if they're not successful, if somebody said, hey, I'm the one that bought the product, or recommended the product and doing the implementation, if it all fails and it takes a year and it still fails, my job could be on the line or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, so I do think that you have to keep that in mind, is how much do they trust into this product, and I know yours is a little different, but I think about like, how am I getting them to be successful in what they do to use our product, but also what are the things you need to do before using our product to be successful in? So that's what I want to get to, is it's not just about, hey, here's all the things about Reltio, go at it. This is what you need to know about match merge. No, you got to set these things up, or you should set these things up first, and then kind of go into it as a practice, as a data hygiene practice, or whatever you might kind of come up with. And those are the things that I've been thinking about a lot this year, and started probably somewhat recently, in doing some of that stuff. But, I look at your page and I love it. And thinking about copying some of that, maybe just creating in a, probably not perfectly, but just in the way of one-stop shop area, to where you just click on different things and go to. Does that make sense? Like, I really like that. It looks beautiful. It's a nice work.
I will only charge you beers.
Yeah. So that's zero.
Copyright.
That's no beers.
That's right.
Because you don't drink.
That's right. There is such thing as a free lunch.
Well, that's okay. I mean, if you want me to get you lunch one time. Where you at? Are you in the Bay Area or trying to remember
Yeah, I'm
where
in
you
the
live?
Bay Area.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just thinking like I was just there. But it was
You
just a
didn't
quick
call?
trip. Well, it's just like I was there. It was like 2 days of work and that was it. Our team, we had a team meeting out by, is it Moon something Bay or something like that? I don't remember,
Mhm.
but kind of close to there. Well, it's been good, Scott. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no, it's always, I really enjoy these conversations, and, it's just like, with the campus, anything I can do to help. And, but I get a lot from it as well. I've been taking a lot of notes.
No, really, I get a ton out of this. It gets me thinking about things I could do or things I should be focusing on, or hey, man, Scott's doing some cool stuff, and so. But you're always doing cool stuff, so it's always a pleasure to have you on. Well,
I-
thanks everyone for listening in. I'm Chris Detzel for another Peers Over Beers and
Scott Wilder.
Living on the Wild Side. Thanks everyone.